Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm going to be talking about my Kindle Unlimited TBR today. Sorry about the change of location. It is a super rainy day here, and I live in a little house in the woods where it's already really dark. I try to use natural lighting, so I'm just having issues here today. So we're over here in my living room. I'm going to be talking about all the books I have downloaded on Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is a service through Amazon where you can download 20 books at a time and read to your heart's content. They have all different genres, from thrillers to fantasy romance to dark romance to really anything, horror, anything that you could imagine. They have it on there, and they have a lot of really awesome authors, like indie authors and self-pub books, and they have traditionally published books too, but a lot of what I read is on Kindle Unlimited because I do read a lot of self-pub and indie pub books, especially romance. As you guys know, I mostly read romance. So today we're going to talk about all the books I have downloaded. I was looking, and currently I have 18 books downloaded on Kindle Unlimited. Usually I have like 20, but that's just how we are today. The first half is going to be fantasy romance books, and the second half is going to be dark romance books, because those are the things that I'm in the mood for right now. So let's talk first about the fantasy romance that I have downloaded. The first book I'm going to talk about today is Empire of Flame and Thorns. This is by Marion Blackwood, and I believe this takes place at a academy or university type of setting. I believe the heroine has like an enemies to lovers romance with the head of the dragon army, something like that. I think that they are dragon shifters in here, but I fully could be wrong. Yeah, it says a Fae rebel, a ruthless dragon commander, and a deadly trial that will turn their lives upside down. So this is a Fae and dragon romance. It looks like she's trapped in the Sealy court by a forest of thorns. She has to take part in this Fae competition and has a romance, like I said, with the dragon commander. He's the ruthless commander of the dragon shifter army. So we've got Fae and dragon shifters, which I love both of those species or beings in fantasy and fantasy romance. So I'm very excited for that. This sounds really good. I've heard good things. I want to start it as soon as possible. I'm thinking about putting it on my February TBR, if I can fit it in like with my prompts, because you guys do know I do a TBR jar. The next book I have here is Woven by Gold. This is by Elizabeth Hallen. This is the second book in the Beasts of Briar series. I am buddy reading this with Jess from Honest Fiction and April from Happily Ever April. I will have their channels linked down below. Make sure you go and give them a follow because they are both awesome. If you like my content, you'll love their content. We have very similar taste in books, especially like fantasy romance. So this is a Why Choose fantasy romance series with Fae, and we have a human female main character, and she accidentally enters the Fae realm one day when she's searching for her father, and she meets these 4 Fae princes. Each is the prince of a court based on their season. So there's like the prince of spring, prince of winter, etc., etc. And they're at this castle, but they're cursed. So this is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So Rosalina is our heroine, and she is very much like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Like, she is very bookish. She loves books. She wants to open a library. She is just really cool. I love her so much. She is being treated like crap by her on again, off again boyfriend who is very abusive. So make sure you check out the trigger warnings. This is book 2. Okay, so we've read the first book, and this is book 2, and I am now on page 70 out of 544. I just started this and I'm really enjoying it. I loved for the first book. I gave it 4.5 stars. So highly recommend that series if you haven't checked it out. Next I have Blood and Steel by Helen Schuer. This is the first book in the Legends of Thesmar series that everyone has been reading. I have been missing out totally. I know Jess has been doing a read along on her Patreon, and I have been missing out on that. I am a member of her Patreon, but like I just haven't been able to keep up with that, and I really would like to start this series because I know everyone's been loving it. Anyway, yeah, Blood and Steel looks really good. I think that our heroine wants to be a warrior, but in this world, like, women are not supposed to wield weapons, because if they do, I guess there's like this prophecy about, I don't know what the prophecy is about, but it's something bad. So if women become warriors, like something bad's gonna happen. But she decides that she doesn't care and she wants to be a warrior. That's all I know. And next I have another Why Choose, and this is a dark Why Choose fantasy romance. It's called Order of Scorpions by Ivy Asher. So this, I've never tried an Ivy Asher before, but I've heard about her a lot. I think she writes more darker Why Choose fantasy romances quite often. And I've heard from a few different people that this book is really good. It's also a standalone, and I need more standalones in my life while I'm trying to really catch up and finish series. That is like my biggest goal this year, so if I can get some standalones on my TBR, that's going to definitely help out, because the less series I am starting, the easier it will be to finish the series that I've already started. So I think this is a dark fantasy romance, and the synopsis says, 6 years ago I woke in a cage with no knowledge of who I was or where I'd come from. I was spared the flesh markets and instead thrown in with a group of savages where I learned how to fight or die. So now she's part of this order of assassins, and she ends up being for sale as an assassin, and she gets sold to these guys that she met back when she was imprisoned, I guess. I think that's like the general idea or synopsis, but it's supposed to be a dark white shoes, and it sounds good. I've heard really good things about it too. Another dark fantasy romance I have, it's not a white shoes, but it's a dark fantasy romance, is Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. This one has been on my radar for a while now. I know that Jess is a huge Ella Fields fan. I have tried to read A King So Cold and I DNF'd it because I don't know. It wasn't working out for me at the time, but I think it was more of like I just wasn't in the mood for it kind of thing. This one sounds really cool, and it's in like an icy realm, and it just has vibes that like I think I'm really gonna like it. And I don't know why, I just have a feeling that I'm really gonna like it. I think that we have an unhinged male main character in here, but I don't know much else about it. I kind of want to go into this one blind though, so I'm not gonna read the synopsis for that one. Just know it's a dark fantasy romance, so make sure you check the triggers before you go in. It's in a wintry world with an unhinged male main character, and sign me up. Next I have A Reign of Shadows and Endings. This is by Melissa K. Rourke. It's the Legacy series. Now I have gone back and forth about whether or not I should start with Lady of Darkness, because that is the series that comes before this, and they're kind of in an interconnected world. And I've heard from a lot of people too that this series is better than the Lady of Darkness series. But I also usually like to start an author, like especially if we're talking about a world or an interconnected world, I'd like to start at the beginning. So I don't know. I've gone back and forth, but I've heard such amazing things about this series that I think I'm going to go ahead and start with Reign of Shadow and Endings. It's just giving what I want right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we have fae, I think we have vampires of some sorts, or at least maybe blood drinking fae. So she ends up having to be the source for the heir of Endings, and she doesn't want to be his source, but it's supposed to be like a really prestigious role. You're basically like bonded to this person, but she doesn't want to be. And I think that he, obviously, I would imagine that he is the hero. I think it's supposed to be very dark. I think he's kind of like a villainous hero or a villainous male main character. So, and I've heard there's a lot of triggers for that one. That one is longer though. It's like just the first book alone is 650 pages. So I don't know when I will get to it. I've thought about putting it on my February TBR, but I might have to wait till March. I don't know, but I want to read that. Next, we have Dark Fae by Carolyn Peckin and Susan Valente. This one is a Why Choose romance set in Solaria, where Zodiac Academy takes place, but it's like a prequel series, but it's Why Choose. And I've met a couple of the characters that are in this because they have already showed up where I'm at in the Zodiac Academy series, because I've finished the first 6 books. I'm very intrigued by this. I really want to read it. I think it's supposed to be really good. And these authors, like, I like their writing a lot. Like, I have a lot of fun with it. So I'm definitely intrigued about that one. If you've not heard of Zodiac Academy or Solaria and this like interconnected world, it's like fae, but it's like shifter fae and like all different kinds of fae. Like there's fae vampires, fae dragon shifters, fae. Are they unicorns or Pegasus? I can't remember what they are, but there's like everything. Okay, the fae in this world are just brutal. They're brutal. It's all about power and dominance, so it can be quite unhinged, and I'm hoping that Dark Fae is super unhinged too. Speaking of unhinged, why choose? The next one I have here is Psycho Academy by Jasmine Mass. This is the first book in the second trilogy of this 6-book Psycho Shifters series. And I finished the first trilogy, which follows one group, a couple, and this is a new one with a new female main character. You've already met her in the first trilogy. She's our female main character's like best friend, and so I can't wait for this one. I think it's going to be even more unhinged. Not to mention we have our big overarching plot line that is getting really good, and it has me like on the edge of my seat and I need to know what's going to happen next. So I'm so excited to get to this one. I need to get to it as soon as possible. So the first book, you definitely want to start with Psycho Shifters. Like, don't start with this trilogy because you have to start. Like, the plot starts with Psycho Shifters. And in that one, the heroine finds out she is an alpha, and being a female alpha is just like unheard of. And she ends up being sent to the front where they are at war with the Fae. And she's being trained by these other alphas, and it is a bully why choose. From there, like, they don't like her, they don't believe that she could be powerful or be an alpha really. They are just baffled by her weakness and all of the stuff. Jasmine Nessa's humor in these books is just, it's so good. I don't know what else to say. It's just impeccable. Next I have What Did You Do? This is by Janine O'Reilly, and this is the second book in this Infatuated Fae series. The first one is How Does It Feel? This is a super duper unhinged dark fantasy romance. I talked about it in my unhinged video. I will have that linked up here and down below, but that is it. It's so unhinged. We have our male main character is not a hero. He's fully the villain. He's just bad. He tries to unalive our heroine repeatedly. He is positive that she is a assassin sent to unalive him. And she's over here like, listen, I'm a human scientist. I didn't mean to fall through this portal. I literally was just doing research. Like, just send me back home. I'm not trying to do anything. I just want to go back home. She's a human. She fell through this portal. She was working at this like nature preserve, studying like moths and butterflies and just, you know, doing her thing. And when she falls through this portal and this guy's like, no, you must be an assassin sent to unalive me and I won't hear anything else. So he tortures her, puts her in this jail cell. There's just really some really dark scenes. Check your triggers. That's book 2. And I think she just came out or is like about to come out with book 3, but it's going to be a 4-book series, I believe. And the final fantasy romance book I have here downloaded is Gold by Raven Kennedy, and that's because I need to read that this month. I do have it on my TBR for January. It's the 5th book in the Plated Prisoner series, which is a King Midas retelling. And it's, I would say, like a dark fantasy romance, like not super dark, but especially the first book, like has a lot of dark stuff in it. But in this one, our main female character is gold touched by King Midas. Everything on her is gold, her skin, her hair, like everything but the whites of her eyes and her teeth are gold. It's just like a really interesting like character development kind of story too, and it's a very slow burn too. Sorry, my cat Charlie is yowling. Charlie! My cat's freaking out right now. I don't know why. They just got fed. Okay, so let's talk about the dark romance. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to like wait. So the first book I have in dark romances is Insatiable. This is by, who's the author? Lee Rivers. It's the first book in the Edge of Darkness trilogy. And the whole trilogy, I believe, follows the same couple. This is a very dark romance. I have started this. I'm only on page 17, but I don't really know much about it. I know we're getting current timeline and past timeline back and forth, and then we're also getting both POVs. So the characters meet when they're 15, and the heroine, I guess, is the hero's sister's best friend. And that's literally all I know. The hero's father is like a psychopath who is in prison for being like a serial unaliver, and he's like a famous serial unaliver. They're also very well off. So this is all I've got. This is all I have for you. Do I have a synopsis? No. Have I been able to find a actual synopsis that tells me anything? Also no. All I know is it's extremely dark. The trigger warning list was like 2 pages long. And I mean, I think one of the triggers was like, I can't even say it. You should check out the trigger warning list though, because it is bonkers. So I just know it's a dark series. And I think it just gets darker and darker and darker throughout the series. It's not one of those ones where like the dark part's like the front, which I actually prefer. Like I hate when they just try to shock you at the beginning of the book and then just like go, you know what I'm saying? Like I prefer that it's like more of a steady kind of thing. Anyway, next I have Venom and Glory. This is the third book in Shannara Williams' series. What is this series called? The Venom trilogy. So this is a cartel romance trilogy and it follows the same characters, like the same couple. And it starts basically when our heroine is leaving her wedding. She's had her wedding. She's married the love of her life. She's the daughter of someone in the Italian mafia. They are on their way to their honeymoon when they are stopped and her husband is like pulled out and unalived, and she gets taken captive by the Mexican cartel. Things go from there. She is taken captive, so it's captive. She is treated very poorly. A lot of awful things happen to her. The male main character is definitely a villain, and I would say like she's morally gray too. It's pretty interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I gave the first 2 books 4 stars each. And I'm looking forward to finishing out the trilogy and seeing how it ends. Next, I have When She Unravels. This one is a mafia romance that I think takes place in Ibiza, which I found very interesting because I've never heard of that before. Like I've heard of Ibiza, but I've never heard of like a mafia romance taking place in Ibiza. You know what I'm saying? So this, I think, is about a woman who like runs away from the mafia, like her mafia husband, I believe. And she accidentally falls in the lap of another dude in the same mafia, and things go from there. So that's all I know. I'm kind of letting myself go into that one blind. All I know is everyone I've heard that has read it has loved it. And next I have The Sacrifice by Chantal Tessier. This is the 3rd book in this Lords series. Each book follows a different couple, and I cannot wait for this one. We are getting Tyson's story, and I have loved Tyson in this series so far. Like I have loved when he comes into play, and I just can't wait to see his story and see who he ends up with. All the books in this series take place like at the same time or around the same time of each other. So you can actually read these books out of order if you want to. I'm reading them in order. I actually just read The Sinner and I loved it. 5 stars. I also gave the first book 5 stars. But I think I like The Sinner even more. And I'm so ready to read The Sacrifice. I can't wait for Tyson's story. The Lords in this, like, there is this, like, secret society called the Lords. And they basically control everything in the United States. Like, they are also, like, trained unalivers. They're, like, who secretly, like, pulls the strings behind closed doors when it comes to basically anything, money, business, government. Like they're who's really in control, like behind closed doors kind of thing. Next I have Deviant Hearts, and this is by Jagger Cole. This one I also don't really know anything about. The only reason I have it downloaded here, I know it's mafia romance. The reason I have downloaded it on here is everyone keeps on saying Jagger Cole writes the best mafia romance. I've also never read a mafia romance written by a man before. I tend to read mostly female authors because I read mostly romance. So I'm very curious to see what a dark mafia romance written by a man would be like. I also hear that his spice is like really great. So that's why I have that one. And then I also have The Bratva Bride by TJ McGuire. I got this one because I saw Larry put this on her 25 to read in 2025. And it's a Bratva mafia romance. Like, I love the Bratva. I'm totally down for more Bratva romances. And I think this takes place in Las Vegas. I also would like to read more books set in Las Vegas. So between Larry putting it on her 25 to read in 25 and the Bratva and Las Vegas, I was like, cool. And I downloaded it, and it's on my KU now, but I don't actually know much about it otherwise. It looks like it is an arranged marriage, though, and the heroine is actually from a Cosa Nostra family. And oh wait, no, she is Bratva, and he is Cosa Nostra. Okay, interesting. Okay, so each book in this series follows a different couple. And then, let's see, I have 2 more books to talk about. One is God of Malice by Irina Kent, because everyone else and their mothers are reading the series. I did read the first couple chapters, so I've gotten through that scene. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But this is a mafia, like, university type setting. The thing was, I actually didn't put it down because of that, what happened. I put it down because I felt like the way the characters were talking and acting, they felt quite immature to me. Like, it felt kind of high school. Does that make sense? So I want to keep trying though, like we'll see. I think I didn't give it enough of a chance. I would like to give it another chance. So I am going to try to read that one. Like I didn't even put it on my Goodreads as DNF because I literally just kind of like read the first the first 2 or 3 chapters. And I was like, okay, so that's what that's about. And maybe I'll try it again later kind of thing. So I think I do want to read that one. And then I have Savage Hearts by J.T. Geisinger. This is the 3rd book in this Mafia romance series, and I've loved the first 2 books. And this one I think is about a Bratva assassin. And yes, thank you. I will take that. Thank you. Yep. J.T. Geisinger writes such good romance and such good spice. And yes. Bratva, yes. Assassin, like yes, 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 yes. It says it is a fast-paced tension of John Wick meets the high-stakes love of Romeo and Juliet. Yes, a Bratva assassin. So 100% I will be reading that. I want to finish out that series. I think there's 4 books in the series. I've read the first 2, so books 3 and 4, here I come. So there you have it. Those are all the books that I have downloaded from Kindle Unlimited at the moment. Make sure you let me know what you have on your KU that you can't wait to read. Let me know if you've read any of these and which ones I should prioritize. I love to get feedback from you guys because you always have the best recommendations and you kind of like know what I like, what I don't like, etc., etc. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.